Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Yeah? A little bit more enthusiastic, right? So let's do that. Good morning. How are you doing? Awesome. So good. So good to be here. Yeah. So let's talk about effective software developers, right? Who actually in the audience wants to work harder? All right, a couple. Yeah, great. You can go, right, and leave. Because you can get now work, right? What are you doing here? Waste your time. For the rest of us, we can just like learn now how to work a little bit smarter. Yeah, so my name is Sven. I'm a developer advocate at a company in Spain. It's a small startup called Manfred. We are building a career building platform at Manfred where you can register and then you can compare yourself to other developers. Where are they in their career? What are they earning? So getmanfred.com, register. We're currently building it, so we're not there yet, but you can also already register if you want. But this talk is actually not about Manfred. It's more about the engineers that works at Manfred. And it's not about just like the engineers that work at Manfred. I've been working for companies before like Atlassian and MongoDB. It's also about the engineers that work there. So I wanted to find out what makes a difference between a developer that works pretty good and a very effective developers. And I talk to a lot of people, and I try to find some patterns in those in the way they work. And I put that together in the talk here. You will see that in a bit. It's not a complete picture, of course. So if you follow that, there's no guarantee that you're then effective. But it gets you more onto the thinking about like what does effectiveness mean in software development. So let's go back and think about like what is an effective developer doing. An effective developer writes very smart code, right? So code that you and I normally write in 10 lines, they condense it to, I don't know, 3 lines. Super smart. If you look at that, you think like, wow, this is possible, didn't know that, great, wow. I have to think a little bit about it, but it's cool. So they write very, very smart code. And then they're fixing bugs immediately. So if you come to the office in the morning and see like, oh, there's a new bug, what should we do? It's like the effective developer raise their hand and say, oh, you know, it's already fixed. I just did it last evening, just like before I left. I saw that, I fixed it immediately, it's done. You can just like deploy it to production. Oh, cool, right? And then also they're adding features like a champ. Same story, if you go in front of the Scrum board in the morning and say, who's taking this task here? Who's working on that, and then the effective developer also raised their hands. Like, you know, you can also already put it in progress. I started with it. Actually, you can put it in review because I already did a pull request, and you can just like review it, and then it's done. Boom! Whoa! Super, super effective. And they never stop. They're always hacking. You see them always, their hands on the keyboard. And if they stuck because they need something from, let's say, a designer or so, they just like stop for a bit, take the next task, and just like go on with hacking. Wow, super, super effective, these developers. And they live and breathe code. If you wake them up in the middle of the night and say, man, we have to change this here. We have to change the behavior of the web page. What should we do? And say, this effective developer says just like, go to this class, this function, and then just like change this behavior, and then it should work. And say, wow, they know the code inside out. Very cool and very, very effective, right? That was me. A long time ago. Yeah, I'm that old dude. I started my career in 2000. In 2003, I was in my first job, and I felt like I'm super effective. I'm fixing all the bugs. I'm adding all the features that I got asked to. I am a super effective developer. Wow. But then looking back, actually, to almost 20 years, almost 20 years later, I think like, was I really effective? Was I really effective? I'm not sure. So let's take a look at the things, right? I was writing very, very smart code. I just like figured out like, oh, I can do that with code. Great. So I just like put it all in the code and condensed everything. And like, I knew at that time it was super smart. 2 months later, I saw the code and said, oh, please don't touch it. I I don't know really what's going on, but I know it's working. So just like, don't touch that code. Don't understand it. I know at that time I thought it was super smart. So it is probably super smart, but I don't get it anymore. So I don't touch that code anymore. Then I was actually fixing the bugs all the time. Just like bug came in, right? And I just said, okay, I have to fix that. Why did I do that? Because I was embarrassed that my code had bugs. I just like wanted to cover it a little bit, right? I just like wanted to go and just like, I fixed that bug so no one will actually notice that there was a bug. Well, I should have actually taken the time and just like get step out of that and fix the damn root problem. Because these bugs came in all the time and I was covering it. I was covering here a little bit and there a little bit. I should have taken the time, take time off to just fix the root problem. That would have taken me maybe a day or something, but would have saved time at the end because I was just like fixing the same issue over and over again at different places. Adding features. People were actually coming to my office. Yes, that was the good old days when we were all sitting in an office and tapped me on the shoulder and said, Sven, I've just been to this customer, and they need to just like have this button where they can download the data as an Excel file, click on it, download the Excel file, say, yeah, great, I can do that. If you need that, I can just like, let me do my thing. Like 2 hours later, there was a button, looked at the library, how can I export the data as an Excel file? I did that, worked great. But to be honest, this feature get never used. Because what the customer really wanted was just like a backup for the data, and they never clicked on the button and downloaded it and stored it somewhere. So we should work on features that are just like not for one customer, but for more customers. Fixing things for more customers would have helped the software better, and it would have made me more effective, actually. Never stop, always hacking, right? I was telling you the story that this person was just like going in, or I was just like hacking and just like taking the next task if I ran into a problem. You know, that requires a lot of context switching. And context switching just takes time to just like focus your mind on the new task. So just like it takes approximately just like 15 minutes to get into the zone again. If you ever come back into that zone where you have the whole design in your head and you just like had to get it from your head through your fingers into the keyboard, into the program. So also here, just like context switching is really bad. So I should have just like asked the designer and said, is the thing ready in 2 days? Because then I need the designs. And if not, I'm not going to start here because that requires me to context switch. Live and breathe code. Wake me up in the middle of the night. I knew the code inside out. I was very proud of that. But it took me away from actually the broader vision of the whole software that we were building. It took me away from that, right? So I should have just like is that the right way we're going with the software instead of just like looking at the code all the time? So with other words, like things that you see here on the left-hand side, right? I was always pushing for efficiency. But where I should have pushed more on the right-hand side and pushed more for effectiveness. So if I would have pushed me more, I would have just like worked harder, right? On the efficiency side, just like fixing more bugs, adding more features, just like do it, work harder. Where I actually should be working a little bit more smarter, right? So long story short, this is how you work smarter and not work harder. Effective developers, let's keep started and talk about code, right? We code as a team. And you know what? Writing good code, we know that. It takes time, right? And sometimes I was sitting like this actually in front of the screen and just like relaxed and just like think about like how can I make this code better? How can I make the code is working, tests are passing, but how can I make the code better? My boss came and said, Sven, what are you doing, right? Just like get on, and just like commit it. There's no need actually to just like sit there and write good code because at the end, the machine doesn't care, right? It's got compiled to machine code, boom, boom, boom. The machine doesn't care how good your code is, which is true, right? But humans do. Because it is super important that we write not code just for the machine, but also for humans, right? For our coworkers. Because also you read code, and also for you. actually you read code more often than you write code. So you just like, when you need to change functionalities or something, or add functionalities, you look at the code, try to figure out what's going on here. So you need to understand that code. And if you just like write code for the machine, you don't write it for humans, right? So think about that. You read code more often than you write code, so write very pretty code, like this one, which is not very written, so nicely written. So I saw this code and said, I don't know what's going on, right? I don't understand what's going on. So I just like git blame, looked where who's the author, who can I blame here, and then I found out I wrote it myself, right? I just like, and I know it was half a year ago, and now I remember it. It was a Friday afternoon. I had to just like get it to production, and I knew when I come back after the weekend on Monday, I will fix it and make it look good. But then on Monday there were some other files coming, so I totally forgot about it and left it there like it is. There's a lot of things wrong here. So public, private, protected. Who knows what to use when? Here, the print income information, right? We should lose camel case. There is some indents, totally messed up. Curly braces, same line, next line, totally messed up here in the code. And then this one, magic number and variable, just like in front of, or just like at which order, just like always this messes up my mind, just like, okay, smaller, larger, I don't know. So there's a lot of wrong with this code here, or just that don't get me started with actually the variable names. I know there are tools that can fix that automatically. If you have just like your coding convention, apply them, please apply them, because code is more readable if you have a consistent, if it's in a consistent format. And it's so important because you just take a glance at the code and you know where things are. And I don't mind, and I don't want to get into the discussion of tab versus spaces or whatever. I don't mind, but just like have a consistent code formattation works for most things. For things like variable names, probably not, but works for most things. So just like do that, have a code format as a team over the whole code base, right? So you can just like take a glance at the code and know where the blocks are that you have to look at. It makes the code much more readable and much more understandable. Because it goes like this. The human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. It's the same with code. I just look at it and say, okay, I get what it's doing, just like diving deeper into that. So that's one thing. Another thing is like writing Clover code. I told you just like I condensed this to just like 2 lines, and just like then I didn't understand it, right? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why didn't I left just the 10 lines of code? It's totally okay to do that because I can, yeah. I can write Clover code because I learned and I knew that I can do that. I wanted maybe to show other people too that I'm that great of a developer, right? That can write complicated code. I just like go on in my career here. I'm getting better. Look at me. Great code. But it doesn't help the team, right? If you have the option to write Clover code or simple code, right? It's always simplicity over cleverness. Write more simple code. There's nothing wrong with simple code, right? It explains more what the code is doing. It's just like if you add one more line, because the thing is, we write code as a team, right? Everyone in the team needs to understand. It's not just you that needs to understand. Maybe you can write Clover code and you will understand it in 2-3 months. But does the whole team know? Or does new team members that come in understand the code? Not so sure about that. So how can we make sure that your code is simple enough for your team? How can we do that? We do the canary test. You know, canary birds, back in the days, coal mines, we took the canary bird with us, canary bird fell down, we know the air is polluted, so we just like had to get out of the coal mine, right? How we do that with code? How can we make sure that the code is well written for everyone and make the canary test with code? We show our code to our junior developers. Just like, maybe they don't understand because they have not the whole domain knowledge, but they get what the code is doing. If they get what the code is doing and say, I don't understand everything, but I get what the code is doing, your code might be simple enough for them to understand. And that's actually your baseline for great code, right? For simple code for your whole team. So how do we do that in a more structured way, in a process? Code reviews, right? everyone should do code reviews here. Actually, every line that gets changed could go through a code review. So we need to invest time in code reviews to make sure our code is simple enough for our junior developers to just see if it is, right? So code reviews are great not only for just like make sure the code is simple enough, but also to inspire your junior devs to see like what is possible with code. And of course, also for consistent code quality, we want to have these code reviews. But not every team is just like, or everyone actually, every developer likes code reviews very much. And that's the hard thing about code reviews, right? Your code is actually getting on the test bench from your coworkers, actually. And that's super hard. If you get just like, oh, I get feedback for every line that I write, I get feedback from my coworkers. And they can be hard, or they can be just like, it can be tough, right? So how can we make code reviews more pleasant? How can we do that? So the Bitbucket team actually came up with some rules that they said for reviewers. We need to be nice. We need to be nice, but of course we need to do code reviews, and we need to just like also criticize things, right? Or just like say that things are maybe not okay in the code, or could be better. So they came up with a couple of rules that they apply for code reviewers when they do code reviews. The first rule is to seek to understand. Sometimes people start ranting, and then the author said, yeah, but there was no other possibility, and said, oh, all right, yeah. But first, try to understand the intent of the person that write the code. Just like get in the shoes of the one that wrote the code and see, try to understand in which situation this person was. Then always criticize the ideas and never, ever criticize the people. It's bad for your team. You shouldn't do that, by the way. I don't want to just like, no, never, ever criticize people. I think we're clear with that. And then if you just like think like, I really don't like that in the code, never rant, right? Never rant, but make suggestions. Say what can be improved here in the code so people learn from it. And people just learn not if you just like say, okay, replace this line with that line. Don't spoon feed. Don't tell them directly how the code should look like, but point them to a solution, right? And then also, super important, comment on positive things too, right? It feels so good if people say just like, wow, I didn't know that this is possible. Oh, great solution here. Wow, it feels so good. Just like, do that, right? If you think like, oh, I didn't know that, or just like I feel like, that's clever, then just like say that, right? Say that loud in the comments, right? So these are just like a couple of rules that the Bitbucket team set out. Make your own rules, see what works for your team, but just like to get inspiration, how to make code reviews more pleasant. They are important, and we need to make them more pleasant. All right. Second thing about like what's important for an effective developer is this here, learning, right? When I started, and I told you it's so long ago, but still I was so excited about just like jumping from university into my first job. And I looked at the code base and I was learning, and I was just like this excited person that says, wow, this is amazing. Oh, this is possible with code? I didn't know. Actually, that test got executed automatically when I check in the code. That was new at that time, yeah. That was just like, whoa, awesome. Wow, this is really cool. And we keep on having this in our technology, in our industry, right? So new technology comes up, we just like say, wow, it's exciting, new technology. Let's blockchain, let's put it in production, let's try it out. Wow, cool, I want to work with these hot new technologies. Great, right? But over the years, when you get a little bit more, I don't want to say senior, but if you get a little bit more experienced in what's going on in the industry and what's happening, you are not so excited anymore. You will also say maybe something words like, I will also survive the microservice and serverless hype. That will go over, right? That will go over. I don't have to jump onto that. Or really, a new front-end framework again? We just took ages to just like put in the new one, and now you just like want to replace it again? Or Scrum bots? I already know what's important. You need to know what's important, but I already know what's important. I'm here since, I don't know, 10 years or so. Or code reviews. My code is brilliant. I'm open to review your code and criticize what you've written, but my code is good. No reviews for my code. It's good. With other words, you probably know these kind of people that are a little bit like grumpy, right? I don't know if you have someone in the team that is like this, or actually there's also a little bit of grumpiness in me. Try to cover that a little bit. But these persons are always saying like, I know how to develop software, right? It's good. I know, you learn. I know how to develop software. But what they're really saying is, I know how to develop software now, right? And ask them the question like, do you think actually software development is changing? And they will say, of course, yeah. I mean, just like look back 10 years or something, we didn't have containers. So software development is changing all the time. And we need to keep up with what's going on in the industry. We cannot just stand still. This is just like, this is our job also, to constantly learn, to continuously learn new things. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to just like deep dive into every new technology, but you need to just like understand what's going on and need to just like judge if this is something that is ready for you to use, it's ready for you to try out, or it's ready even to just like put in production. So how do you constantly keep up with what's going on? So what I do is, when I commute to my co-working space where I work, I'm just like listening to podcasts and to audiobooks, or when I work out, I'm not listening to music, I listen to podcasts and audiobooks, or just like do a walk outside, just take the time to just like learn during my commute. Another thing is like go to meetups. I mean, you're doing the right thing to just like go to this conference, but also tell your coworkers just like there's meetups in every town, and it's not about just like learning. It's about like making connections with other developers. And if you run a problem, you can ask your network of other developers that are in your city or in your area. So meetups, great way to learn. What we did at MongoDB was we had a weekly book club. So we read a book. And then for 1 week, we read a chapter. So each week we read a chapter, and then we met for an hour each week, and we discussed the chapter. And it's so amazing. It's not just like talking about what we learned and getting that more deepened, but also talking about the opinions, right, that people have, and see like people have totally different opinions. It's just super cool to talk about these things. Can just like highly recommend to run a book club. Really helps also the team to discuss, to learn how to discuss things and to bond together and to constantly learn. What I did when I was a team leader, we were doing video Fridays. It means like we just like on a Friday afternoon, we just like were watching videos from conferences because we didn't have a big budget, so we couldn't go to all the conferences that are out there. So we just like watched the video Friday afternoon, I don't know, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and then we discussed afterwards the things in the video that we saw. The good thing about that is that everyone participates. The whole team can participate. I know there are times in your life, times in your life where you just don't have maybe the energy to constantly learn, to read books and things. I know small families and stuff like that. So it's a good way to just like get the whole team together to learn as a team. So learning is important, right? Learning is important to make new connections in our brain. That's how we learn. But it's not only about that. It's also about like getting rid of some connections. It's important also to unlearn, because some things that we learned in the past are actually not true anymore. We just like, this industry is moving so fast. So just like story from the good old days, when I was in the university, I was learning that you have to develop with a waterfall model. That was really what they taught us, right? We all know now, no, waterfall model is probably not the best idea in the world. So we went agile. So I needed to unlearn that waterfall is not good. So, but there are plenty of examples like things that are not true anymore. So we need to learn to unlearn. So on one hand, we need to learn, but then we need to unlearn. But there's one important ingredient missing here, and that is experimentation. Right? We need also to experiment. I mean, we cannot just like learn from books or from other people, and then just like, we need to do something like hands-on, learning hands-on. So experimentation to be more effective. So then the question comes that I hear all the time, you know, Sven, all we have to do for our company, we get paid, right? We get paid. So all we have to do is on the board, which is not true. Not everything fits on the board. The rest is somewhere hidden in Jira, in the backlog somewhere deep down, right? If it's in Jira, it's done. It's documented, so it's great. But we know that not everything that is on the board can be the best idea, right? It's probably not the best idea. This might be not the best idea. Some are maybe great ideas, but that might not be the best idea. So how do we know actually, how do we know what is the best idea to do, right? With other words, we have known unknowns. We know that not everything is great that is in the backlog that we work on, but how do we find out if it's good or not? We may know that there could be better solutions out there. This is probably not the best solution to solve this problem. Or even, maybe there's a new technology that can help us. Maybe we're reinventing the wheel here, right? Or we're missing opportunities. We're working on the totally wrong things, right? So these are known unknowns that we have, right? How do we come over that? It is pretty simple. Don't be shy, just try. Try things out. Try things yourself. Get your hands on. So what we were doing was actually, we're doing 1.5 hours a week. We're setting aside, the whole team just took the time off to learn something new, something that we were interested in. That has nothing to do actually, just like partly to do with what we are working on, but can help us. So for example, we were just like trying to see like, what is TypeScript about? So we just like did some coding sessions with TypeScript, just to get a feel for the language, just get a feel for the technology, and then we moved on and learned some Rust, right? Because we want to just like see what is Rust as a programming language. And you can do that with all kinds of technologies. And just, you don't have to dive deeper into that, you just like get a feeling. You don't have to just like take that and say, okay, now we learned it, now we have to use it in production. No, it's just like to find out where is this technology, and once we make a new project, maybe it's good to have that, maybe not, just to constantly learn. So 1.5 hour of coding means 1.5 hour of improving. Then it is about the tools, right? I just heard that software teams use around more than 20 tools each day. So 20 different tools, right? How do you keep up with all those tools? What's happening there? Like, there are coming new features. Maybe you don't know all the features. Maybe you brought it in for just like a small feature set that you're using. How do you know that you use this tool effective, right? You don't know. Because you need to just like try, look into, just like find out that, split up as a team and just like say, you look at that tool, we look at that tool, but not just like the tools that you have, but also just like try out new tools. If you're a Jenkins shop, just like look at GitHub Actions. If you're using IntelliJ IDE, maybe you want to use a lightweight solution, or just like a solution for the cloud, like Gitpod, where you can just like have your whole development environment in the cloud and build your software there. So just like look at what's out there, try it out, and maybe you want to bring it in, maybe not, and see what is new in the tool on the tool landscape. So 1.5 hour coding, half an hour, I say, training each week, or you just like do it every 2 weeks for 1 hour, makes 2 hours of improvement. Now comes the elephant in the room, and we talked about that, Holly talked about that yesterday here on stage. It's innovation. Everyone wants to be innovative, right? Everyone wants to be innovative. The whole company says, yeah, great, innovation. You get an award for innovative ideas and things like that. Great. Cool, collect ideas, great. But the problem is not that we don't have ideas, right? The problem is not the lack of ideas. Everyone in the company has ideas. And I'm with Holly when she says just like innovation teams, maybe not. Because everyone in the company has great ideas, not just the innovation team, right? At Atlassian, we tried that. We had an innovation team. And what happened is like everyone else in the company said, oh, innovation happened there, right? It's not good. So how can we actually tap into this idea pool of everyone in the company, right? The problem is not the lack of idea. The problem is always the time to try them out, to see like, is there time? Do they stick? Is it possible? So how much time do you actually need? 40 hours, right? This is what MongoDB was doing. They're doing, they call skunkworks for a week each half year, every 6 months. They're taking a week off and work on projects that improves the software, that improve the ways of working. So they take a whole week off. Maybe you just need 30 hours. And I heard Holly saying yesterday, it says 24-hour hackathons, happening on the weekend. Well, you can do it differently. And actually at Atlassian, it's a little bit the inventor of the 24-hour hackathon. Back in the days, I think 2006 or something, they were running something they called FedEx Days. Because FedEx, deliver in 24 hours, you have to deliver the software in 24 hours. They ran it until FedEx came and said, you know what? If you Google FedEx, your FedEx Days comes up first. They're very popular. So can you please rename that? Because just like we are a customer of Atlassian and we just like would love to have it renamed. So they renamed it to Ship It Days. Same concept, 24-hour hackathons. I'll give you a little bit of glimpse how this is organized at Atlassian. So first is the planning phase. Of course, plan the dates way ahead of time, just like 3 months ahead. So everyone knows when this is happening. It's not just like a surprise. Oh, we have a release, so we can't participate. No, everyone can plan their release dates, their offsites around those hackathons. Then don't just like write your story down that you want to do. Just like don't run into the day and just like say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's do something innovative. Just like write it down before, get some feedback maybe already before you start, right? And then we're running brown bags at Atlassian, where you can just like do some lunch talks, pitch your idea, 5 minutes or so, and then get a team together to have a bigger impact. And then on a Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m., the Ship It Day starts. Remember, time is ticking. There's in the office, there's a big clock running down. On the web page, on the internal page, there's a big clock running down. Have fun. And also, Holly tapped onto this yesterday. Like, you are solving problems that you think is a problem and that you can actually show the company and the founders and everyone just like that. This is a great idea, and you get the stage for that. And this is so much fun to work on your own ideas and get this should be shown to the whole company. And then don't forget to get energized, right? Some people, actually, it's a 24-hour hackathon, so it's really 24 hours. Most people go actually at home around 9 p.m., come back at 7 a.m. or something. There are people that sleeps under the desks, but this is not the rule. And then on a Friday, 24 hours later, 3 p.m., Atlassian is running presentations. So you got 3 minutes to pitch your idea, to show like what you had to have done, to pitch your project to the rest of the organizers. Then voting for the winner, right? Even the voting app is actually a Ship It Day project. And then some things go on the roadmap, some things don't go on the roadmap, but also important to just like announce the next hackathon. So they do it quarterly, every quarter. So announce the next hackathon so people can just like plan and know when the next one is happening. And the thing was like, it was running very successfully with an engineering department, but marketing, legal, finance, they didn't participate. So Atlassian wanted also to have other teams. They have also innovative ideas, not just for the work, but also the way of working. So look at what the legal team has built. This is actually a hidden whiskey bar in the Sydney office. And it's like, yeah, great, right? It's for just like get better, get socialized, get better together. So once you're maybe visiting the Sydney office from Atlassian, just like try to find the hidden whiskey bar and hang out there. They call this, they give an award for especially non-software projects, and they call it the Unplugged Award because, right, it's like unplugged. So also here, like, this is a statistic. What we ship, what we don't ship. It's even smaller what we really ship, right? Because we figured out not a good idea, right? So waste of time, right? No, it's not, because we know what's not working, and it just took 24 hours. So it's really valuable to see like where we shouldn't go with this 24-hour projects and where it really makes sense. Out of this hackathon came out, I don't know if you know Jira Service Management, multi-billion-dollar tool now. This came out of a hackathon, this project. So every quarter, running this means 0.7 hours per week. It's a hackathon, so 2.7 hours of improving. I think we can invest those time in our weekly schedule to just like work on things like and improve ourselves. Invest time in discovery. All right, and now the last and I think most important thing that I want to talk about to be more effective is this. Work on what matters, right? So work on what really matters. I recently was watching, seeing this video here on YouTube, just like what a car manufacturer has built. This great, you can control actually the entertainment system with gestures. So you can just like turn the volume up and down. You even can pinch zoom into maps. Really great, right? Really cool what they did there. Actually, I thought a little bit about this. So they have a camera actually in the roof, and they're filming your hand. And wow, this must be a big project, right? This must be a huge project because you have to change the car, the building of the car, change the software, all those things. But why didn't they just like say, okay, touchscreen is good enough? It's just like a few centimeters away from the screen, right? What is really the problem that they want to solve here? What's the problem they had, right? Is it just like the touchscreen is not good enough? I don't know. There could be just like things like, yeah, we want to just like be different. That's a valid problem that you have, right? But what I don't get what the problem was. And this is always, or this is very often what we do. We have the solution in our head and say, oh yeah, we have to build this specific thing without thinking about like, what is the problem? Why do we want to solve this problem? Is that really a problem? Where's the data that shows us at the end like, yeah, we have this problem, the data shows now we solved the problem. And maybe the first solution that comes to people's mind, whether it's just like write a card, we need to build that, is not the best solution, right? So how do we find out like what is the problem and what's the best solution? So also here Atlassian has built or has just like developed kind of questions to just like ask before you start a project. You have to fill out this project poster. So it's of course not a poster. It's a Confluence page or a Google Doc or whatever. But you have to just like think about like, why are we doing this? How do we judge success? What are possible solutions that are out there, and not just like taking the first solution? So everyone has to fill it out. This project poster, and it's a living document, of course. And then once it's filled out, everyone in the team understands really what are we building here. What is the thing that we want to solve? What is the problem? And it's really important that everyone in the teams understand what are we trying to solve to build the right thing. And it's also good if people ask like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You can just like point them to the project poster and say, here, read that. Now, the project poster is done. Let's assume that project poster is done. Now we have to cut it down into user stories, right? So user stories like, as a user, I want a new statistic button so that I can see the number of data sets. Let's assume this is something that MongoDB wants to build, right? If you click on a button, you see the number of data sets. Great. User story done. Boom. But also here, we don't talk about the problem, right? We don't talk about like, what is the problem we want to solve? So instead of this, we should say like, as Yasmin, I want to know the number of data sets so I can plan for growth, right? So maybe my database is getting too big, so I can just like, too many documents in my database, so I just like need to shard my data or need to just like buy a bigger hard disk or whatever. But this is the problem that Jasmine wants to solve, right? Jasmine, who's Jasmine? Jasmine is a developer in training, so she probably needs the button to just like figure out like the number of data sets. Lucas maybe wants to use the command line interface, just like type it in and just like use that because you're a full stack developer, he's more common to just like use the command line. That's fine. So think like your users. Like your users are different, and maybe the same feature is used by different kinds of users, right? So this is what you call personas. So write everything down in personas. So these are, of course, not real customers from MongoDB, but some personas that MongoDB is working with to just like get into the head a little bit more of the customers or the users of MongoDB. But then, of course, yeah, you have a lot of these project posters or projects that you want to get done, right? And so what do we do first, right? What should we concentrate on? What's the priority? Where do we invest time the most? So if you have the possibility to just like pick, right, I would always go for the happy path. in your software, right? There where the most users hang out, like 80% of your users hang out in the happy path, so optimize that instead of just like doing some corner cases here. So you can do something like a journey map. This is an Atlassian journey map for Confluence that the team did. So you can easily see like what's the journey look like on day 1, day 3, day 4, then what are the problems that people run into, and how do we fix that problem? And of course, you do that for every persona out there that you have, or for every persona that works with that software. Great, right? Now we might say, Sven, we had a developer conference. Come on, right? Let's talk about code. I don't care. It's actually something for the product managers, right? That needs to figure out all these things. It's not us, right? I'm sorry. I did probably the wrong talk here. Sorry for that. So a quote here. I wish engineers spend less time understanding the problem and more time coding. Who said that? Said nobody ever, right? We need to work on the freaking problem. The code is just the code. And we write software for our users. So yeah, we can actually help product managers, right? We can actually help our product managers in their mission to just like make the software better for the users. So we need to become, maybe if you're a junior, yeah, you should just like learn how to code. But if you become more senior, just like say 1-2 years, you should be interested in the domain itself and how you solve problems there. With other words, you should become a product engineer. Somewhere in between product and software, right? You know how to solve things in software, and if you're interested in the product, that's right, a great match. So how do you work on this product engineer thing? So you could do some hallway testing once the first version is out, and you can go around in your company and just like say, hey, can you test that or try it out, right? Because these people also know the domain very well. So before actually the product managers go to the customers and show the customers, should do internal product hallway testing with the software. Super important. Send your developers on support. If you're a support department, send your developers on support to get them in contact with real customers and see like what's out there in the real world and see the real issues. Just like a week, every quarter, every half year, you will decide. But just like so, get them in front of customers, and it's amazing. I've seen people coming back from support, from a week support, and say, we need to solve this one thing. It's super easy. It takes me 2 days, but that's 20% of the support cases we can close immediately, right? So just like send your developers on support, get them closer to the customers, and get the developers also closer to the data. Not just like how many memory, what's the CPU consumption, all the things. Yeah, great, but just like also see how people use the software. I know that product managers are working on that, and you should help them because you're sitting at the software and you can actually get them the data that they need to make conscious decision. Also be a data detective and see how your software is actually used, right? All right, 45 minutes later, the effective developer. I've been talking about like that you should code as a team, right? Think about your readability of the code for the whole team, not just for you. Constantly learn, right? Our industry is moving fast. If you want to be effective, you need to know what's out there, right? And then also experiment. Get your hands dirty, go out, experiment, run innovative projects, try things out, take the time off from your daily work, and then please work on what really matters, what turns the needle. This makes you effective. Now, in the beginning, I said like effectiveness, that's just like a little bit like this wiggle line. It's not really clear what makes you effective, so you have to try things out and say, doesn't work for us, that works for us. So it's not just like I couldn't give you a clear path and say, okay, you do that, you are effective. With efficiency, it's much easier, right? And that's, I think, why we are drawn always to efficiency. But don't get me wrong, right? Efficiency is also super important for us. So it's things like automation. Of course, we should automate things, right? Makes us more efficient. about learn the toolings, right? Just like learn how to use command line interface and things like that. And also like work on the processes, how you can work better together with other departments, right? Work on those processes. So this all makes you more efficient. It helps you to get actually more stuff done. And that's it. Efficiency helps you to get more stuff done in the same amount of time, but where effectiveness helps you to get the right stuff done, right? The stuff that really helps your customers, helps your users, turns the needle. With other words, efficiency is about the output, where effectiveness is about the outcome that you generate with your software. So think outcome first, be effective, and get shit done. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.